host of the Gridiron.
Now we got a lot of different individual people coming up here in this portion of the program. Now, this one here talks about Daniel Jones. Why the Giants failed in the Daniel Jones era. Well, there's many reasons why the Giants failed in the Daniel Jones era, but there's a story here there's a former what was he? Former Giants assistant coach suggests why the Giants failed in the Daniel Jones era. So, I mean, obviously, there's a ton of reasons why. One of the things, maybe he just wasn't quite good enough. So the former assistant here, the former Giants quarterback's time with the franchise had its ups and downs, but one coach that was around him believes it was doomed to fail for this reason. When the Giants drafted former quarterback Daniel Jones in 2019, he was already burdened from the jump with having to shoulder immense expectations for a player of his caliber. Giants selected Jones at the number 6 overall pick in the draft, a decision that is still argued to this day as one of the most questionable in franchise history. Not to mention he was chosen to be a fateful successor to two-time Super Bowl MVP quarterback Eli Manning, who at the time had one foot out the door of the organization into retirement. With his early selection from the top 10 picks of that year's draft board, Jones was expected to come in and make a difference immediately to the Giants' offense that was losing its luster in the final years with Manning. The issue was that Jones was never that same level of flashy at the college level with Duke. He never amassed over 3,000 yards and had only one season with over 20 touchdown passes to his resume. Nor was he placed in the greatest systems for a young gunslinger during his early time at the helm in New York, and the results certainly showed for it. Jones would only eclipse the 3,000-yard marker and 20 touchdowns in one of his first 3 stints under center, and would take on some of the most sacks seen by any quarterback in that same time. In addition, each passing year seemed like it held the same set of problems in terms of the quality of pieces around him on the offensive side of the ball, making it hard to fully place the blame on the quarterback for all the miserable records in the last half decade. So believes former Giants assistant coach Dr. Anthony Blevins, who worked with the team during the Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge, and Brian Daboll eras, and has said in an exclusive interview with the Locked On Giants podcast that the Giants venture with Jones failed mainly as a result of changing the environment around him that was finding some early growth in. Now, let's not forget, right? His first season, now he had like 3,000 fumbles, I'll give you that, but let's not forget, first season at the helm, he had 12 starts. Through 24 touchdown passes. He had 12 interceptions, but 24 touchdown passes. 2 touchdown passes a game. He hasn't come anywhere near that since that time. Nowhere near that. Well, I'll say this. Daniel came in and replaced Eli the legend, so that's hard within itself. And how he handled that, but I think one of the biggest mistakes was not continuing the growth process with Pat Shurmur that first year, Blevins said. Because you just took a guy that was a rookie and you made him a rookie again, and you went with a guy in Joe Judge that wasn't an offensive guy, wasn't an offensive head coach. You need somebody that could truly develop the quarterback, and I don't think that was the case. The Shurmur tenure with the Giants took place in 2018 and 19. Was certainly nothing to write home about, but there was evidence of the former quarterback coach from the Eagles having some sort of positive impact on the initial development of Jones, who took over the starting role for the majority of his NFL debut. Pat Shurmur was there in 2018, right? They brought in Saquon, and what did Saquon do his rookie year? He had like 92 receptions, over 2,000 all-purpose yards. 2019 is 1 year with Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones, 24 touchdown passes. Didn't come close to that ever since after that. Despite the Giants going 4-12 that season and owning a mediocre offense in terms of overall production, Jones had arguably one of his best years moving the football in the air. He posted a 61.9% completion percentage, On his 459 pass attempts for 3,027 yards, he had a 2-to-1 touchdown ratio, 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Jones had some pretty remarkable performances in that stretch of 13 appearances. I mean, it's like, he played like one series against the Dallas Cowboys, and of course that's an appearance, right? So I mean, he basically had like one drive, I think it was, against the Cowboys, right? So, including his infamous welcome to the league moment that came on the road against the Bucs, when he combined for 4 touchdowns and executed a beautiful game-winning drive with his last score to steal the first of his 32-31 win as a pro. Of course, we had no defense that year, so when the Bucs just walked down the field, right, with I don't know, we had like a minute to go, whatever, or they just walked down the field, and thankfully their kicker missed like a 4-yard field goal, or else we would have lost that game because our defense just stunk that year. Let's see. Before Jones could earn a full year's work under his belt in the Shermer system, the Giants parted ways with the coach and replaced him with the special teams coach and Judge. Not something that's going to help your second year quarterback, right? The offensive scheme wasn't conducive to his needs, and early signs of progress went sideways in the next 2 seasons. Giants' offense was anemic and fell to the second worst scoring unit in the league in Judge's first year as a head coach. By the end of the second, Jones's number fell to 2,428 yards, 10 touchdowns, with 17 combined interceptions and nagging neck ailments taking hold of his consistent availability. The other problem was the lack of any true weapons that came into play under the Gettleman Judge regime that didn't end until the end of the 2021 season. Outside of Saquon Barkley, who had his own ACL and ankle injuries. Now, of course, that's when he was with the Giants. Now, of course, when he's with Saquon's with the Eagles, he gets 342,000 touches and doesn't have any problems. But he only gets injured when he's with the Giants. Imagine that. Barkley, who had ACL and ankle injuries, was limited to only 15 games and two 1,000-yard outings in that span. The Giants' investments in the receiving group, like Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Rudolph, failed to produce a player with more than 521 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then there was the inept offense line that slid from 17th in pass blocking grade during the last year with Shermer to a dead last in 2020, and 30th by the time Judge was relieved of his duty after a 4-13 stint the following season. Giants kept investing money in draft capital into options that could turn the tide, but it wasn't working and only led to a deterioration of Jones' confidence. It all culminated in the once hopeful successor to Manning getting battered up mentally, weakened in the pocket, and now out of the picture. Giants now find themselves in the same predicament 6 long years later, a tired fan base with the solution awaiting a potential partnership with the next candidate in the upcoming draft. But before the Giants get there and choose their next franchise quarterback of the future, it'll be this lesson that should speak loudly to Joe Shane and Brian Dable, who are also on the cusp of make or break season for the longevity of their jobs. You got that right. The good news is that the Giants are already on the right track with providing themselves a better offensive product for the incoming novice. They have a few pieces on the front who show that they're valuable pass blockers when healthy and have unearthed some building stars in skill players like Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy, right? Wandale Robinson. As Blevins mentioned in the interview, they still have a good offensive minded leader in Dable, who might be calling the plays again unless he gets handed over to Kafka and hasn't forgotten how to coach. He has just been waiting for his arm to mold like he did in Buffalo with Josh Allen. And now the potential can be fulfilled with the right quarterback selection in April's festivities. But the Giants must avoid the mistakes of their past with Daniel Jones to ensure a brighter future with the chosen successor. I mean, that's, obviously there's a million things, right? That, my legs here. Oh, my God. There's a lot of things. I mean, obviously, maybe Daniel Jones wasn't quite that good. But you saw, Shermer is not a good head coach. A good offensive mind, good offensive coordinator, very good with quarterbacks, this, that, and the other. So you saw 24-12. right? 12 interceptions. He had like a lot of fumbles, right? 24 touchdown passes, right? As I said, Saquon in his rookie season, Shermer, the coach, right? Got over 1,300 yards rushing, at like 92 or 93 receptions, or 91 receptions as a rookie. I mean, just crazy. Over 2,000 all-purpose yards. Fantastic season, right? Sherman comes in, first year with Daniel Jones, 24 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown passes a game. Hasn't come close to that since with the Giants, right? Then, of course, then you let him go. 1 year with Sherman. Then you bring Judge in, who's not an offensive-minded coach, right? Bring him in. So, I mean, that's almost another 2 years wasted. Then you bring Dable in, right? But, between getting pounded in the pocket, sacked, injured, right? Not having a great offensive line, not having a ton of weapons to throw, there's a lot of blame to go around. A lot of blame. And also some of it might quite possibly be Dave Gettleman drafting the dude at number 6. Right? But there's a lot of things that could happen. But obviously Daniel Jones is no longer the Giants' problem. One thing is that we have like $22 million, I think, in dead cap money for Daniel Jones' upcoming season, right? But after this season, Daniel Jones, obviously he's gone, but Daniel Jones' money will be gone off the books, no mas. So we have like $27 million in dead cap money, right? Basically, it's from like 2 players. So 22 of it is from Daniel Jones, but it's going to be really good. I said once this season's after the 2025 season's over, actually, if you look, we don't have any dead cap money in 2026. So, most of the dead cap money we have this year is Daniel Jones. But once he's gone, once his season's over, 2025 is over, Daniel Jones will be gone.